How's it going, everyone? Welcome to our voluptuous return to the Critical Beard podcast.
Miraculously
I
voluptuous.
am one half of your host this evening, the Cardinal.
I'm the other half. Meatball. Don't
Whoa.
ask. Don't ask where that nickname came from. It's a
And
long.
it's been a long time
It's
since
been like
we hung
it's been
out
like
with
15
you.
years. It's been like 15 years.
15 years.
Pretty sure.
That's a very, very long.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
those are in COVID years. It's kind
yeah,
of like dog years,
that's true. That's,
But
that's true, COVID. Yeah. No, I get that. I feel
yeah,
it. I feel on it a little bit. Not like
you do look like you're on it. You went from looking like Jack Black to looking like Kyle Gass.
I'm not bald. I have
No.
hair.
Just the disheveledness. I guess Jack Black's pretty disheveled these days.
Yeah, I've seen them lately.
Except when like he decides to shave everything and then he just looks like this like weird butterball thing.
He just shaved his whole body.
Yeah, yeah. He oils up and then like rolls down hills. He had a YouTube
How you been?
channel. It was pretty hilarious to watch.
I have not talked to you in 15 years.
I know.
Because as people know, we only talk to each other through the podcast.
It's true. I think it is in our
Just
contract somewhere.
constantly,
We can't
constantly Skype
use.
call,
Yeah,
and we just
we're under
see if
contract
the
to
other.
Skype, so we can't communicate with each other in any other means, even in person.
We just feel it out. We just feel it out.
I just
Uh,
kept hitting call, hoping you would answer one day.
15 years later, here I was.
Here we are. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
man. Okay, so I guess what have you been playing is kind of a big question because we've had 15 years.
should I talk about everything I played
Yeah, I hope
in
you've been
15
keeping.
last
I hope you've
years?
been keeping a list.
Oh, I have. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Utah, California, Colorado, Connecticut. Oh, what games have I been playing? I
Oh,
thought you wanted me to list this.
didn't they do that in the Animaniacs where they did like they'd had like the song
And
the 50 states and
Maniacs. Dun, 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 dun. It's kind of wait. I don't even know if I'm singing
you
the
went
right
into
song.
the
I don't even fucking know. I'm old now. I'm 15 years older.
I know
Um. So what I've been playing recently, I'll just say recently,
recently.
because yeah, we won't we'll
Big question.
forego the last 15, 14 years and 11 months. I'll just talk about what I've been playing over the past like month. Um, I just started playing Stray today about a cat
I want to play
living
that
in
because I like adventure games, I like cyberpunk, and I like cats.
that game is free. It is for you. Like it is like Inside or Limbo, but with a cat in cyberpunk future. No humans exist. It's all just weird people with computer like old computer monitors as faces.
Uh,
Um, these then there's these self-aware robots that know they were slaves years ago, but they've like realized that they all have souls and shit. The game gets real dark. I'm just talking about the first 30 minutes of the game, so it's not spoilers or anything. But like, yeah, you're a cat, and it starts off as a very traditional like it's a cat, and you've got a bunch of other cat friends, and you're just chilling, and it seems like they're living in modern times. And then the main cat, they don't doesn't have a name or gender or anything. It
cat.
just is the cat. The main cat falls down into this weird city, and you're like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And it's all of a sudden it's this weird cyberpunk dystopian robotic like thing, and there's these weird head crab things from Half-Life that try to kill you. You have to run. You have to run from them. There's not really combat in the game. The movement feels awesome. Like they fucking nail the
Do you
cat
think
physics and
the cat
not being a
physics,
cat.
the cat,
The
very
cat
specific
physics
subgenre of
feel
physics? Do you think this is like a commentary on how cats see humanity? Yeah. Hmm. That's a pretty great freeze frame.
son. That was
That was a great freeze frame, by the way.
I was just like, what happened? I was like, is it frozen?
Like, did I freeze in real life?
We needed
No, I didn't.
connection error. Um, but yeah, it could be coming there. It could be
Hmm.
um just a bunch of computer
Robert De
people.
Niro thinks so.
Yeah. When you're walking down the alleyway at first, like all the robot people are really fucking scared of you. They're like, it's a fucking cat. They'll just like run inside. And then they find out they're like, you're chill. They're like, you can stay in our village if you promise not to eat anyone. And you're like, yeah, that's tight. I don't eat robots. And they're like, oh, cool.
Oh,
So
cool.
you're good.
Why would robots
And
be
I
afraid
found
of
out,
being eaten? They're robots.
dude, these
Yeah.
robots are fucked up. Like they're like self-aware slaves that just realize they have souls. It's weird. But I just played a game of pool by myself as a cat, which is just swatting balls into the hole until you win, which is a lot of fun. I've already stepped on two
Cool.
pianos.
Oh well, I
I've
mean,
already walked
that'd be the
someone's
first thing I
keyboard.
did as a cat.
I walked across someone's keyboard and just typed a bunch of nonsense while they were trying to use their computer.
Wait, the robots use keyboards? Can they
Don't think
just
about
plug
it too.
in? Okay, okay.
I'm not far enough in to give any explanations to that. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying them. About an
Nice.
hour and a half, 2 hours in.
How much does it cost?
It's 26.99
Nice.
on
I know it's
and
on I know it's on
it's
Steam, so I
it's
might
on
pick it up
Steam.
on sale
It's
one day.
on Steam, on PS4, PS5. It is also free with the PlayStation X Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium. So if you have either of those, the game is free. Um,
I'll take your word for that.
so yeah, yeah. The other game I've been kind of really into is a game called Nobody Saves the World, which is a
Oh yeah,
game.
heard of that.
Yeah, it's the creators of Guacamelee, which
Yeah,
was like
that
a
game was good.
lucha
It was
luchador.
good.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was good. It was
Luchador
solid.
Mania.
Yeah,
Um, this is their take on a top-down Zelda mixed with Diablo.
yeah. It's like
Um,
a roguelike, right? Kind of.
there's no
No,
roguelike.
no rogue elements.
They procedural generated dungeons.
Okay.
The overworld is is bespoke, but the dungeons are procedurally generated. But the main crux of the game is that you're a wizard who can transform into any and all these different forms. So you start out, you're just like a naked boy, and then you can transform into
Sold.
a horse
I was a
and a
naked boy
soldier,
once.
an archer, but then you start like you can transform into a slug, and like each one like you have to be like A rank with this one and C rank with this one to unlock a necromancer, and then you have to be this rank, and then but you have a wheel you can hold down like the right bumper, and it pulls up a wheel, and you can just like switch any forms on the fly, so you can
You
just
know what
like
that
boom boom
sounds
boom
like? That
switch.
sounds like
Really fun.
a natural progression of like Monster Boy. I mean, if you played it in the Monster
Yeah,
Boys, like on like
remember ago,
Master System and stuff, like sounds like a nice progression of that.
I want more games where I can turn into
I
shit.
know that's your
Like, and
bag. Altered
that's
Beast.
my thing.
I know your bag. You like turning
Yeah,
in?
you know it.
I know you.
My dream game was like yeah, like an open world altered beast game, basically like RPG. And this isn't quite that, but the all I know is the final form is a dragon, and I'm really trying to get there because I just want to be. We always want to be a
Yeah,
dragon
you need to be a dragon. I mean, come
at the end of the day. So
on.
what you doing? What you pin plank?
Well, it's been 15 years. I don't console game much at all anymore. I picked up a gaming
PC
PC
Master Race.
like
Yeah.
a year ago, year and a half ago. I picked up a nice gaming rig. Um, so Steam sales are just as deadly as I thought they would be.
Mhm.
So dangerous. It's just like
Okay.
I just bought 50 games for like $20. What am I doing with my life? Like I have so many games.
You don't ever pick up the Switch anymore, huh? No Switch.
There hasn't been any game that made me want to go pick it up
Metroid
again.
Dread, my friend.
I,
So good. It's so
yeah,
good.
I haven't been. I don't know. I haven't been in the mood for like. So what I have been playing, I jump into to Final Fantasy 14 sometimes, here and there. There's just so much content. That's going to be like literally a forever game for me. Um, but I've never really. I played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online back a couple years after it launched, and it was okay. Never been an MMO guy, but 14 has
Wow. You are
why not?
now. You are now.
I am well. I'm a Final Fantasy 14 guy because it's so much more of a focus on story than pretty much any MMO I've played. So that's my bag. Give me a good
Hell yeah.
story. I'm willing to
Hell yeah.
I'm willing to forego even genres I don't really like if the story is good. Um, so I play that every once in a while. Um, I main a dragoon, my man. Um, I jump
Nice.
into my like I'm always playing Metal Gear Solid V. I mean, I put like 600 hours into it. I'll jump in every once in a while, see how my FOBs are doing, go do a couple missions,
Maniac.
you know. Death Stranding, same thing. Every once in a while, jump on, do a couple deliveries. Um, what I have been playing is a lot of Magic the Gathering. That's what I've been playing a lot of. So, but you can play. I play that on my computer too, but not as much as physical cards because it's addicting. It's addicting.
Who do you play? Like, do you play with someone?
I got Mercedes addicted too.
Hell yeah.
So we're both just like
Yeah.
I came home with like 3 decks today. I'm just like snuck into the house. I'm like, hey honey, guess what we got?
Got more cards.
Got more cards to play with. Um so that's been fun. Now what's the most recent new game I played? I guess that's the real question. Probably the most recent new game like I played like around when it came out was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah. That's right.
That
You did
was
play that.
Yeah, and
That was a good one.
that was great. I very much
Surprising.
enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah, it was solid. The story was honestly the characters and the story was like much better than uh, what Marvel has become, what cinematic universe has become. I
They do some things in that game that they just don't have the balls to do in the
They just
MCU.
can't in terms just because it's too risky and like not enough
They,
time. They're forced the MCU they're forced to connect it to other stuff, so like they can't. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. The problems with especially phase four. I was like, what phase four? Like, what are you talking
Doctor
about?
Strange. Doctor Strange is the only movie in Phase Four. Sorry, I love that fucking movie. Yeah, no, Guardians was fantastic. I my only problem is it was really an uneven game because like the story it was one of the best narrative experiences I had played in a long
Yeah,
time, but there was still like the combat was like it was okay,
it
and
was okay.
there was a lot of janky bugs. Like there was a lot of jankiness to the
Mhm.
gameplay. But man, if that game
I didn't
was
run into
just
too
really
many
smoothed
games.
out,
See,
if they would have just fucking said no to Avengers, the stupid, terrible Avengers video game, and put all of the money into Guardians and made it this game
I,
of the year 10 out of 10. I mean,
yeah,
it could have been a 10 out of 10 game
yeah,
if they would have just smoothed out the combat, smoothed out the controls and the
yeah.
floatiness of the game. It was a great narrative adventure, and they
It actually
nailed
made me care about Star Lord, Peter Quill. Like,
Rocket because
actually
he has
care.
that. He's like kind of naive, and he's like, "Rocket, come on, man!" And
Yeah,
you like you kind of like him. He's like the
yeah,
dude. He's like a Wayne's. He's like Wayne's World. Fucking, you know. He's got that. He's just so much more likable than the
yeah.
Chris Pratt
He's not like
take.
like Chris Pratt's take is a little more smarmy, a little more like kind of
Yeah,
like bite your tongue, kind of like acidic humor. But yeah, that's the last new game I played. So
oh yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
yeah,
Solid,
enjoyed
solid
it.
take. I have it somewhere. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is. Well, that brings us to the topic of the show,
Topic
which
of the day.
is
Topic of the day.
coming this Friday. If you're watching this as it comes out, if you're not, then it's already out.
I don't
And
know when I'm gonna have this edited, so it
thank,
probably
thank
be
God.
out.
Coming out soon. Coming out July. I'm gonna date this video.
Oh,
Coming out
nice.
July 22nd is a little game called Live Alive.
Live alive, live a
Live,
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 live a live, live
live,
alive,
live.
live alive,
Tyler the game. Um,
live alive, live a live.
live, alive. And
live, live,
it was a
live.
game that so we've gotten this style of um, visuals that started with a game called Octopath Traveler, which was basically like taking
You
what
love that game a
was
lot more
every.
than me,
You have to admit, at least the visual style and the music is undeniably magnetic.
especially the visuals. Especially
The music is some of the best RPG music of all time, in my opinion. But anyways, I am a huge fan of that game. Um, but that game brought something really cool to the table. People, not everyone loved the game itself, but everyone I think agreed that the graphical style was
yeah,
this was such a cool mixture of old Final Fantasy, 6, this like 16-bit, Final Fantasy 6 style mixed with this almost diorama
yeah,
tilt shift, like in a type of um, visual style that was
yeah.
really incredible, and it was so appealing and like it was like the game itself. If it would have came out without that art style, it probably wouldn't have
It would have
been
been
as like
very much forgettable.
a little more mid. But I don't know, something about that art style made that game so magical to me that just like every scene, I was taking screenshots and screenshots constantly because it was like,
Yeah,
oh my God,
and
how does this game?
the amount of options they gave you to mess around with the visuals, I really enjoyed because sometimes I didn't like the high vignette and I'd turn it off. Or like sometimes I didn't like
Yeah,
the
blue,
post processing effects in front of the like as a
yeah.
filter. I didn't like the post processing filters. I took those off. Like I love when games, especially the games with like a stark visual style, will like allow you to kind of like tone down. Like imagine if like Twilight Princess had something like that. You can be like, hey, tone down on the gray shading.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the particle effects in that game,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, right. They're so intense. But yeah, that to me that was like you mentioned diorama, and I think that was a very purposeful thing because like the uh the old Final Fantasies, especially the old Final Fantasies, were like they were like plays, right? Like
mhm.
they had these staged events, and the characters would move across and like look at the freaking camera and like talk, and there'd be these events.
And they were
So
like
to
little
make it,
pieces of paper that would
yeah,
move across the screen.
yeah. So to like make it look like an actual diorama, like a play, like these little things acting out these little events. I thought that was really cool. Like, man, it felt like just a nice evolution of what they were trying to do back then. You know,
And it's such a cool style, and it keeps it old and new. It's like people who haven't maybe touched the genre are like, oh, that actually looks cool,
uh,
because it's not so old. It's not so old and creaky anymore. It's got this new, kind of gorgeous package that you're kind of like, ooh, like I might check that out. That's got a better sheen to it than that old crusty look
I don't know
might
if you
have
ever
to it.
played 3D Dot Game Heroes
Yes,
on the
absolutely for PS3.
PS3. That was the
Hmm.
first. I remember when I first saw Octopath Traveler. I'm like, this is 3D dot Game Heroes. They just like instead of a Zelda game and made out of like 3D pixels, so to speak. Like they took the
That
diorama theory of like taking Legend of Zelda and making it into a diorama, but the pixels are actually like 3D blocks. They took that and just like made it like let's just take Final Fantasy, make it into a diorama playset, and then old Sakaguchi took that even further with his what is it, the one he made for Apple, the game he made for Apple. Um Van, not Fantasia, but like I never played it because I'm not an
was
Apple guy. He
a
made it
new
for
game.
like a year or two ago. Sakaguchi.
Oh, was it the is yeah, it's an iPhone only game.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking. I
Yeah,
can't freaking
it
remember.
used a diorama style where like he made handmade dioramas. Well, not he, but like his Mistwalker. They made like handmade like clay dioramas, and they like filmed them and like scanned them in and use those as the backdrop. It was kind of like the next evolution of like the pre-rendered backgrounds, but instead of like a pre-drawn background, it's like a pre-rendered background of like a handmade like background.
I love that stuff. I love that's why I love those. Like, I don't know, art style is becoming more and more important as graphics start to sort of level
They're
off a little bit.
yeah, they're tapering
I
off.
mean, we're seeing that with, I love my PS5, but we're seeing that with Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok are both going to be on PS4. And I'm like, how? Because like Horizon Forbidden West is the most beautiful video game I've ever played. I can't believe that game still exists on PS4, but it's clear that it's the art style and just the way that they build their engines and stuff is much more, important than like the actual raw graphics right now. Like
Right.
raw graphic engines aren't as bad because I mean, you those companies that are making these really hyper realistic things, I don't think they look as good. But then you have stuff like the Resident Evil 2 remake. Like I think the RE engine is incredible.
Yeah.
Like Devil May Cry 5, the Resident Evil remakes. I
What
think
else used it?
a lot of the stylized stuff, like man, it's not like it's kind of realistic, but it's
Yeah.
not hyper realism,
Yeah.
and the hyper realism looks bad, or it just doesn't look as good. Like Death Stranding, for instance, they went for a stylized look in that game,
Even though the humans are
even though they're
hyper
using,
realistic.
huh?
Even though the actors are hyper realistic, but the
Right, but
world is
yeah, the art
is
design is
highly
still
is
very
highly
much.
stylized world.
Yeah, it still
Yeah.
has that softness to the character models and stuff. It's not like they're trying for something like Red Dead.
I don't know. Some of those scenes, close-ups of like Cliff or Fragile, and just, I'm still when I play the game, I'm like, that look real. That look like Matt Mickelson.
It
Like that
it
look
does
real.
it does look real and it doesn't look real. It's
No,
this
that
weird
look
thing.
real. That look real.
It's this weird
That
thing
look
of smoothing out I don't know. It's weird. They do that thing. It's like in Star Wars. It's like the way Moff
don't
Tarkin looks
don't even
in
say it.
in
Don't say it.
in, in Rogue One. Uh,
Looks nothing like that.
it's like the way he looks. He looks like a
No,
clay
he looks
person.
he looks better
Anyway,
than what they did to Leia. What did they do?
agreed.
What did they do to Leia?
Leia looks real weird because they were like, "Don't spend as much money on her. We're only gonna throw her in there for a second."
Just not
Even though
have her
she
at
she didn't
all,
need
or just
to
have
be.
her
I
voice.
really,
We'd all know who she was. Be like, oh, damn,
yeah,
that Leia. Like we don't need to see her.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway.
um, back to so the reason we're setting this all up for this art style
Oh yeah.
is Octopath Traveler created it. Then earlier this year, we got a game called Triangle Strategy,
Which
uh,
is
another
stupidest name ever.
wonderful game, video game by the same developers, same art style, but it was a strategy RPG, very much in the vein of
What was
Final
that?
Fantasy Tactics.
Right.
It was the best. It's one of the best tactics games I've ever played. I don't like tactics games very much at
Yeah,
all.
I'm pretty picky with.
Um, but it was a fantastic game. And now coming out soon, or it's already out depending on when you're watching this, Live Alive, they're doing their first remake of a classic game in
Yeah.
this engine. The 2D HD engine is what they called it. That's what it's
But their
HD
titling is
two
so on the
2D.
nose. It's like triangle strategy.
It's just,
It's a triangle. It's a
you know
strategy game with triangle. It's a 2D HD. It's HD, but it's 2D. Who's making these titles?
the next game's going to be called like Five Guys in an RPG.
Final Fantasy 15 should have just been called Final Fantasy 1. It's just
Yeah,
four dudes on a journey to get to a princess.
four dudes in a car and a pizza place. So
They made the pizza.
so
Okay, they could just made the pizza.
Live Alive
Live Alive.
is a
So it's a
remake.
remake
It's
of
a
a game
remake
we
of a
did not receive.
classic game that we have never played. So it's like one of those games like
We never
some
received
people
it officially.
played it, consider it to be one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and most of us have never played it, including myself. I've never played it. I remember hearing about it, And when I saw this was the game they were remaking in that, I was like, so not Final Fantasy VI,
Yeah.
not Chrono Trigger, not
Even though we do have
Earthbound
Dragon Quest
uh,
3 or 4
there's
coming out.
3.
3.
Okay. So
Okay.
they are making 3. It's
Which I don't know
taking
why
way
they skipped
longer.
the first two.
It's supposed to be out already. Like it was supposed to come out last year. Then we
Dang.
haven't heard shit.
I guess they fell into some.
Um, so
Yeah, I
they
guess they
decided
were
to make,
like, live alive.
yeah, this game. And the thing is, the reasoning is because some of the developers on Octopath and Triangle Strategy worked on the original Live Alive game. They actually helped develop it, so that's why I realize that's why they're bringing it, such an obscure game versus something more obvious that would make
Obscure for
money,
the
like
best. Yeah.
fucking Secret of Mana game or something, like, coming over. But um, I'm really excited for that, and I'm also excited for this Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake.
I want them to
And
remake all of the Dragon Quest like this.
I see, and this is one of those this is one of those art styles that could really fill most of so many different old school RPGs, would just fit so nicely in this
Mm-hmm.
art style. So I'm here to pose the question to you, Anselmo, Mr. Meatball. What RPG would you
Meatball.
like them to make next in the HD 2D style?
I mean, are we talking like what would probably, or like, are we talking dreams?
Dreams, baby,
Okay,
dreams.
using the 2D HD, I think you know the answer. Xenogears.
You're right. Illusion of Gaia is the right answer. I'm just
Xenogears, man. Oh man,
kidding.
just imagine, because Xenogears uses 2D sprites, 3D models, just and it has a camera rotating around the character.
Is
Just
exactly
imagine that.
what Triangle Strategy does.
Just
Triangle
imagine.
Strategy is the exact because I should say the difference in Triangle Strategy versus Octopath is the Triangle Strategy has a fully rotatable camera.
With 3D
So,
backgrounds.
yep, with 3D backgrounds.
Okay, well then
So,
imagine
oh, I
Xenogears, a
I
complete,
didn't even
like
write
a perfect
Xenogears
works.
because I knew you would
Xenogears
say it.
Perfect Works, the complete edition, where they finished the second disc and everything. That's not a. It's a
I
dream. It's never gonna happen, like ever. It's not gonna happen. But that's what I want.
I don't know. See, I think with dude, if Live Alive can do it, any fucking game can do it. Honestly, at
Yeah,
this
but
point,
I know Square Enix.
I know.
Square is weird with Xenogears. They'll put out all. They're still putting out Xenogears like action figures and stuff, and like DVDs and CDs, but like nothing else. Like no other Xenogears products. It's like, what? Not even a port
Well, the
or
thing is Xenoblade 3. I know you haven't been following a lot of the like news waves and stuff, but
no.
Xenoblade 3 is coming out next week, and they
Takashi.
had
Taka Splashy.
they gave they gave reviewers, they were able to lift the 20-hour preview embargo. So reviewers were able to talk about the first 20 hours of the game, like 2 weeks before the game ever came out, 3 weeks before the game came out. And people were like, yeah, I played 20 hours of the game. Ask me anything. Like, I just can't talk about these certain plot things.
Right.
Uh, they were so confident in that game that they moved it from September to July. What games move up? I'm just saying, I think
Yeah,
Xenoblade 3 might do enough. I think it's going to be the best selling Xeno game of all time.
probably.
Uh, no cap, because it's the first
Yeah.
time they've had the full team work on a Xenoblade game since Xenoblade Chronicles X. Because during the development of 2, the other half of the team was working on Breath of the
Working on
Wild,
Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
and then once they were done with Breath of the Wild, they started working on 3. So a lot of them jumped. 2 was sort of that's sort of the one a lot of people don't like out of because
Uh,
Xenoblade 1 is one of my favorite games of all time.
it's a great game.
Um, but Xenoblade 2, as I liked it a lot, I finished it. I do see why some people don't like it, but 3 looks like it's going back. Like the protagonist looks dope. They have the flutes. The music's incredible. Like the
Freaking
battle
flutes,
system looks.
man.
Yeah, the
Jethro
flutes.
Tull.
I love that the protagonist is just like this skinny soldier with a fucking ponytail and he plays a flute. Like that's just my deal right there. That's my deal.
You know what? That's yeah. You know what? That sounds a lot like Xenogears because the protagonist is a skinny
Yes,
dude with a ponytail who paints.
exactly.
So
It's what I'm saying. Like it's almost like I don't know, and because Monolith Soft has so much pull right now, and they're about to make their most
yeah, but the
profitable.
thing is, Monolith Soft doesn't own any rights to Xenogears.
Well, no, but
Any.
Nintendo's the one. They're the ones who are funding these HD 2D remakes because they're only on Switch. So what would be incredible if we had they pretty much own Monolith Soft's rights at this point. They own like they have very good relationships with Square Enix. I mean, what's to
You get
stop a freaking Xenogears
uh
remake
uh
from coming to
the
Switch?
Japanese because they don't make any sense when it comes to business decisions. That's what will stop.
What's to stop them? Nintendo themselves will stop
Nintendo
themselves.
being Nintendo and Square being Square. That's
Mother
what will
3,
stop it.
no, we want Chrono Trigger. We'll pay $1 billion for Chrono Trigger on Switch. What about Chrono Cross? Well,
Okay.
no, that's not what we asked for. I asked for it. Nobody else did. Um,
I like that game.
I
But
love
yeah,
Chrono Trigger.
Xenogears is my pipe dream. My less of a pipe dream. Um, Actually, I would like to see. I, I'd say they kind of go crazy with it and do like demakes with it. You know?
So cool.
Yeah, like do demakes or like
Like
take
uh,
stuff.
Fantasy 9 remake or something in
Yeah,
that
like
style.
just go wild with it. It's such a cool engine. I think it's just like just making 16-bit stuff look prettier. That's cool, but like man, like demaking like Final Fantasy 7 to look like that would be awesome.
So my take on this, I started thinking about it, and obviously the obvious things came to mind that you would always think I would say, which would be Chrono Trigger and Earthbound.
Yeah. I mean, those are like the first things that jump to my mind, obviously.
Chrono Trigger is
Because
the
I
one that
mean,
everyone.
Chrono Trigger in that style, they'd have to be very careful with Chrono Trigger just because like that game looks so special. Like
Dragon Quest 3 though is, I mean, so they've nailed the keeping that art style of
it's not.
Akira Toriyama,
Yeah, but that's not
and
what I'm talking about. I'm talking just like the. I don't know.
oh,
Just like
it's something about the
yeah,
visual.
Chrono Trigger has a certain like design aesthetic, like that. Even
Yeah,
like something that really looks really great still, like Final Fantasy 6. Like to me, like Chrono Trigger, just like it looks like it just belongs on a Super Nintendo. So I, I had to be,
yeah.
I would be very wary about an HD 2D. Be like, all right, at least I'll still have the original to play. Let's bring it on.
I think Chrono Trigger, and I'm not the first person to say this, but if you had to put a gun to my head, like it's not my favorite. It's close, but if you had to put a gun to my head, you just said, "What's the best RPG ever made of all time?" I would just say Chrono Trigger. Like
Yeah,
objectively, Chrono Trigger. It's just like there's no other game I could say. So
it's hard to fight
and
against
not
that
has
opinion.
it has an insane fan base. You don't know how much money they would make if they did an HD 2D version of Chrono Trigger.
They would make all the money in the world.
Dragon Quest 3. Dragon Quest 3, sure, that's gonna make a lot of money. Guess
Yes,
what
yeah,
make way
it'll make
more money?
money from like the people from Dragon Quest fans.
I'll buy the hell out of it. I'll buy all of them. You can HD
I
2D
just don't know
remake.
why they're skipping 1, 2, and 3 because it's a trilogy.
I don't
Even though
either.
technically, like the third one is like a prequel to spoiler, spoiler to like a 30-year-old game. The third one is actually a sequel to the first one or a prequel
Oh
to the
my
first one. I
god.
know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean,
Here
sorry, guys. Should I
here's
bleep
why.
that out in post?
Here's you go ahead and try to get that out of there. Here's the reason though. Dragon Quest 1 and 2, hot take, not great. I think they're fine.
They're
There's
serviceable. They're serviceable first
I'll put it
wave
this way.
JRPGs.
I can play Dragon Quest 1 and Final Fantasy 1 back to back, and it's like night and fucking day.
I know
Which
Final
one
Fantasy
plays better?
1 still holds up really
Final
well.
Fantasy 1 is so smooth, and like Dragon Quest 1 is Dragon Warrior, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um is
And war.
so jank as
Yeah,
hell, man. That game is
yeah.
so jank.
It's just grind. I thought you'd like it because it's 90% grindy.
Well, I like the grind, but I don't like the jank. Um, that's a Cardinal quote. I like the
The
grind,
cardinal
but
rule.
um, but yeah, no. Uh, I think that's why they're doing three. Three is the first one that was like truly special. I think that it's truly something that really kind of because wasn't that the first one that Akira Toriyama worked on the
No,
character designs,
no, he
or was
worked
it
on all of them for
he
the
worked on
first
one
one.
and two?
Yeah,
Seriously, I didn't
for
know that.
Sears. Yeah, he was
For
there from the
serious,
beginning for Sears.
the '80s were like his best friend. He went from being like some just chum, and then they were like, he's like, I got this idea for something called Dragon Ball and something called fucking Dragon Quest, and they're like, two dragon things, you loser. And then they're like, famous person in Japan. Thank you very
Right.
much.
A little
Bye.
bit more complicated than that, but yeah, pretty much.
No, no, it's
Pretty
exactly how it
pretty,
happened.
pretty much, yeah.
I know. He's actually one of my friends. He came over and told me the whole story.
And like
And for
you had the movie
some
Akira
reason, he
on your
talks
shelf,
like
and he's like,
an old
that movie's about
Italian.
me.
He talks like an old Italian guy. Come here, come here. Let me tell you a story.
Let me tell you about
Um,
dragons.
there's dragons, there's quests, and there's
Like dragons.
balls. Like, whoa, Mr. Toriyama, I don't want to talk about your Dragon Balls.
Wait,
Um,
he just turned into Bill Cosby. The dragons and the balls. Did you put the dragons in the quest for the balls?
balls in the jello. So, anyways, you can't talk about Kill Bosby anymore. Um,
I'll still talk
so
about him. I still love the Cosby Show. Cancel me. Bring it on.
it's still a good.
Yeah,
You can
great.
still say the shit's fine.
Dude. No, you can't.
Um,
No, man. Don't you know the rules of the internet? You can't. You can't, dude.
you can't. Yeah,
We've been
you're
gone
out.
15 years, dude. Things have
You're out.
changed.
We're gonna edit this in post. We're gonna just edit a different meatball in here.
Just a
So
plate with a meatball on it.
Meatball's just gonna turn into Chris Pratt. It's just, hey, I'm Meatball. I can do impressions of people or something.
Whoa.
I can't wait to hear it. Anyways, so my take of this. So there's obviously I think Fantasy Star
Oh
would be a
man,
cool.
that's such a cool idea.
Fantasy Star would be really cool because it
Yeah.
has such a cool art style that would really
Yeah.
pop,
Reels.
and the small sprites and all
And
that, like
then they could
the
actually
tall,
give those games
tall
a
sprites.
proper trans localization because those
I think, yeah,
localizations
especially
suck.
two and four, man. If we could get two and four, um, or
Music
just
is
like a
so rad.
trilogy of two. The music is incredible. Secret of Mana, obviously, it's like a no-brainer. The two other ones I thought of, Breath of Friars.
It's just like it's just this monk who doesn't brush his teeth, you know. Breath of Fryer.
Oh my God, it's
Oh,
terrible.
brother,
Uh,
brush your teeth.
and Lunar, I think, would be really cool
That would be
to go
cool.
back. That
Yeah.
one would pop. That just has such a poppy art style that I just feel like it's always like the first time I saw Lunar, I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, this game looks good." It was the first time I ever saw a game where like they used a spell, and I was expecting like SNES graphics, and it was like lightning went everywhere, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, that was cool."
Yeah.
Um,
Those games are
so
cool.
those are my, and then the obvious non-US games like Terranigma and Bahamut Lagoon.
Oh man,
Um,
it would be cool.
those would be awesome. But then I started thinking, doesn't just have to be RPGs. What's
Yep.
another like style of game that just pops? And I was just like, oh, like what about like we talked about earlier, Wonder Boy or like Mega Man, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like those side-scrolling action games in that style could be really cool.
Could be.
I don't
Or
know.
you know, it would work really well. Um, something like first three Zelda games, or like a beat 'em up or something like that. Something
Yeah,
that can work with
Golden
like
Axe.
spatial depth, you know, kind of like that, like Double Dragon. You could like, it had primitive like depth, you know, you could like jump between like the depths of like the field and stuff. But imagine that with, you know,
I remember, what was it, Double Dragon 2? There's like the second level where you, because jumping was so hard in that game because you had to press like both buttons at the same time to jump. And there's just like this one little scaffold. You had to make a perfect jump in that second level, or else like you were just fucked like forever. Golden
Those
Axe was
games.
the one I thought of.
Yes.
Uh, really
Golden
be
Axe.
great.
Hey,
Golden
Golden
Axe would
Axe.
be so cool. I was just playing it the other day. I just booted up Golden Axe for some reason. Oh, I was on the Nintendo uh, online subscription because it now has 64 games and
Mm,
Genesis games,
hey,
and they threw Golden Axe on there, and I just booted up Golden Axe and I
yeah.
was just playing it,
Golden
and I
Axe
was
is
like, I'm only
awesome.
gonna play it for 5 minutes. I played it for like 2 fucking hours.
Heck yeah, dude. I love Golden Axe. Those little, oh man, those little gnomes that jump out while you're sleeping and steal your stuff. God, and
Got to beat their ass.
those weird pointy nose lizard things you jump on, and
You can, yeah, you can ride the
it's a wild game,
dragons. You
man.
can ride,
Because it was
that
like
game was so
it
cool.
was like a Frank Franzetti, the guy who did like the Conan art, in the 80s, like that, like when you think
Yeah,
about like 80s fantasy, like dark, crazy art, like he was the guy. Sort of reminds me of
the,
like old like
there
Conan.
might be like a scantily clad like woman on like a Pegasus or something, and
Yeah,
you'd
or
be
like
like, you
just
were
a
a little.
pile of skulls and he's just like standing there and she's like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "Yeah, that's right." Yeah. 80s was awesome.
So that could pop, and some could even argue that Vanillaware, they made that game called Dragon's Crown, which is very much an homage
Yeah.
uh,
Was that the
to
one with the lady with the ridiculously large breasts?
it's crazy how big
Like
they are.
like
It's like
it's not even like it's beyond funny.
it
It's just like weird.
it makes Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which was
Look like
already,
so
it makes them look normal.
yeah.
Like how big, like it's crazy. And
It's like you have to be magical to be able to walk around.
Heather likes playing that game with me, and she always chooses the big pitted mage for some reason. She just thinks it's so funny.
Because it was like it's like it went past sexy and then went past funny and it just went weird for me. It was just like,
Yeah,
what is going on?
because like Xenoblade 2's was funny, like it was like past sexy to funny, and then it was like, and then but then like yeah, then it gets into that weird territory, and it's
It's
just like
just like, okay, someone has a fetish who's made this game.
I can't even take this seriously for it. Like
Or maybe it was just
yeah,
like a commentary on how like, oh, Americans love big boobies. You're like, okay, fine, all right. We can-
like, or I don't even know it. I don't know if it. I don't know where that comes from, but like it's such a strange phenomenon. But yeah, man, I don't know. I really just want
yeah,
Chrono Trigger though. And
yeah. I think
If I
when it boils down to it, just give us Chrono Trigger.
could take two, it would be Chrono Trigger and Xenogears because I never got to play through Xenogears. I've always wanted to. Every time I jump into it, like on a PSP, like either like I don't know. I just need a comfortable place to play
Yeah.
Xenogears. Every time
Well, because
I don't want to play
it's like
the my
85%
always
reading. So like you be able to like read it comfortably because it's a lot of
yeah.
read.
My I'm at the point with my PSP where my battery falls out all the time. I
Ah,
can't keep. Um,
that'll happen.
yes. You comments saying put tape on it. Thank you fucking very much. I've never thought of that.
Use
Um,
different tape. I don't know. Come on, man. There's different tapes.
no, that should just glue it shut. Like there is no battery in there anymore. I'll weld it. Um, but yeah, that's I guess about all the time we have today
Yeah.
for our HD 2D discussion.
Thanks for
Were there any
joining
final
us.
thoughts you wanted to add, Mr. Meatball?
Um, no, no, but I like your idea of like different genres. Like, give me something really weird, like the Silent Hill 2D HD remake. Like, just go weird, go wild,
Whoa.
man. Or this would no, that would be really a little too weird. But like remake, retranslate, relocalize the first two Metal Gear for MSX games in that style.
Oh my God.
You know,
That would be so cool.
that would be super
That
cool.
would be so Or like something like Demon's Crest or something would look really cool in HD 2D. But yeah, like or just the classic Mega Mans too, man. Those games would just pop. Like just like Mega Man X, the game would just yeah, it just and
And then
it's
they should do Suikoden. Oh wait, the guy's already doing that, right?
oh yeah, Elden Chronicles.
Chronicles.
Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I can't wait for that. And that is kind of two HD 2D in a weird
Yeah,
way. It's not
a little bit.
official HD 2. It's not
No,
the
but it's
official
definitely
2D.
a stylized, post-processed explosion 2D sprite fun house.
I also
That was a lot
love
of work.
just the amount of the brightness and coolness of like the effects from attacks and stuff in that engine just looks so cool. Um, like in Triangle Strategy, when you like shoot a fucking ball of fire at a guy, like it just explodes and it just looks so cool on that just in that engine. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just a sucker.
You're
Just another
sucker
sucker.
for explosions.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today on this revival episode of Cardinal and the Meatball Show.
We're back.
And we love you.
Back.
Thanks for sticking with us for 15 years.
Hey, yeah, it's been, I think, collectively like 30 years. You know,
This podcast is going to be
yeah,
35.
35 years. Wow, dang.
I'm dead. I'm already dead.
He did.
If you're watching this, please go to my grave. Leave a small yellow dandelion.
Oh,
You might say to yourself, there is no such thing as a yellow dandelion, Cardinal. And I'll say to you, fuck off. Maybe in the future there is.
uh, all right, everyone.